Hello guys, this is Jimmy here, and I am here with a quick tutorial on how to do automation in Reaper. So let's get started. Alright, so I currently have a project open in Reaper. It's called Unsaved Project because I haven't actually saved it. I honestly don't really plan to save it because this is just a demo, but I will Alt-Tab to it.
Unsaved project, Reaper v7.11, evaluation license, pane.
And in this project, there's actually only one track. So if I use the arrow keys,
One message under
up
the
and
C1
down
item.
arrows,
Master.
we can see the master track, and then we can also see the actual track itself.
One message under the C1 item.
And this is a message under the C. It's a track by Andre Louis. And this is what we're going to be screwing around with today. It's already tempo matched, so we don't need to worry about that. Just to provide a quick overview, I'm going to play it.
Play. Stop.
And those are technically the 8 bars that we're going to be working with. We may go farther, but the goal is to just demonstrate automation and not necessarily, go really, really far into the song. Because the song is over, I don't know, I'd say about 40 bars or so. But we're only going to worry about, maybe 16 bars at most. Alright, so automation in Reaper is I wouldn't say really tricky, but can be a tricky process. Honestly, I will say that there are times where I can get frustrated that, it doesn't always work the way I want it to, or, sometimes things just don't go how I want them to go. So that being said, I'm going to try my best to teach this. And if it doesn't work efficiently, I I apologize, just ahead of time. But otherwise, I'm going to try my best and, teach this the best way I can. Excuse me. So basically what we are going to do first is we're going to talk about envelopes. Now, track envelopes are able to be triggered with either envelopes that come with different plugins or instruments, or envelopes that are actually built into the track. We're going to start with envelopes that are actually built into the tracks or already provided, and that is the panning and volume envelopes. Now, you can activate the panning envelope by pressing Ctrl-Alt-P. And we're going to do that on this track here.
One message under the C1 item.
And to activate this envelope, we're going to do Ctrl-Alt-P.
Show track pan envelope.
And you could hear it say, Show Track Pan Envelope. Now what this will do is it'll allow us to access the envelope in order to manipulate the pan value. Now, in Reaper, the pan value is between -100 or -100 and +100. Where -100 is all the way to the left, 0 is the center, and 100 is all the way to the right. Now what we're actually going to do is we're going to highlight the envelope, and the way we do this is by using the Alt-L command.
One message under the C1 item.
I'm going to hit Alt-L.
Pan envelope armed.
And you will hear it say pan envelope armed. And what this means is now if we use Alt-J and Alt-K, we can look at the points on this envelope. And points are essentially what we use to perform the automation.
0.0 value center linear.
So you will notice that when I use Alt-J or Alt-K,
0.0 value center linear.
it says 0.0 value center linear. And what this means is it's our first point, that it's centered, because, it's a center track, there's no pan applied, and it's linear. Now, there are different styles of points. I usually like to leave mine linear. I have not really screwed around with the others. And generally, linear is what you're going to use anyway. Now, you're probably wondering, well, okay, this is a point, but what do I do? Like, there's a point here, but what's the purpose? Usually, when you arm an envelope, they already come with a point. In this case, point 0. Now, you could
0 points removed.
try to remove this point, but notice how it says 0 points removed. This is because this point is essentially the starting point. You can't remove it. You need to actually either add another point, or you can actually manipulate this one and then add a different point later. For instance, let's say I want to edit this point. I'm going to hit Alt-Shift-E.
Set envelope point value dialog. Value edit selected center.
And it will show me that the point value is currently set to center. Now, if I want to change this point, I can. Let's say I want to set the pan value to -50 or -50, which would be halfway to the left. I would clear this with the backspace key and then type -50. Hit enter. And now, if I use the Alt-J and Alt-K keys,
0 value 50% L linear.
You will hear it say 50% L, which means it's 50% to the left. And if I press space to play this, you will notice that it is no longer in the center. It is 50 places to the left.
Play. Stop.
Now, just to practice changing it again, I'm actually going to Alt-Shift-E on this point once again.
Set envelope point value dialog. Value edit selected 50% L.
And I'm going to clear this value. And instead of -50,
Blanks.
let's get a little wacky and type +80. So no minus, just 80.
Unsaved project.
And let's play.
Play.
Now it's kind of on the right side, not all the way to the right, but it's hanging out on the right side.
Stop.
Alright, so that's setting your first point. But then how do you go about setting more points? So we have point 0.
Point 0 value 80% R linear.
Which currently says 80% right. But that's the only point that we have right now. So let's say I want to add more points. Let's go to bar 5 using the page down key.
Bar 2, bar 3, bar 4, bar 5.
And let's say I want to get creative and make this 80% right point go back to 0. We're going to hit Alt-Shift-E here. We don't need to be on a point to, no, my bad. We don't need to be on a point to actually add a new one or change the value, as when we hit Alt-Shift-E, it's going to automatically insert a new value once we press the enter key, or a new point rather, my bad. So what we're going to do here is we're going to press Alt-Shift-E.
Set envelope point value dialog. Value edit selected 80% R.
And in this field, we're going to type 0.
Selection removed. FX track 1 of
now, if you use the Alt, J, and K keys,
point 0 value 80% R linear bar 1.
You will notice that at bar 1, we have a point that is 80% to the right.
Point 1 value center linear bar 5.
And at bar 5, we have a point that is in the center. And you will notice that when I go back to the beginning, so if I use Control Home
R1
to jump to the beginning of the project, now if I press space, you will notice that gradually the song will start to move back to the center as it is transitioning from the first point, which is at bar 1, to the next point, which is at bar 5. So let's play it and see what happens.
Play.
So now you can see that it's centered again. Now let's make a more drastic change. Let's say I want to make it go all the way to the left. Now, keep in mind, the further away the next point is, as in the further away the value is on the next point, the shorter time it's going to take to actually transition. So, for example, if I have this point right here set to 80% to the right,
point 0 value 80% R linear.
And now if I want to go to the next point, I use Alt-K.
Point 1 value center linear bar 5.
Let's say I change this because I'm strange. Let's see, I change this and set it to minus 100, which is all the way to the left.
Unsaved project.
And then I hit Control Home
R1.
and play it. You'll notice that the change is way faster because it's trying to compensate for such a short range of time.
Play.
You can see it's already at, it's already at its destination because it's like, well, I don't have much time to get to my destination, so I'm going to have to pan all the way left.
Stop.
So, you can notice that it actually went a bit faster that time. Now, this is only one of the envelopes you can toggle on this project, or on any project, or on any track in general, actually. There's one other envelope that you are able to use that you can toggle. And I might be missing other envelopes, there may be more, but these are two basic envelopes you can toggle. Let's get rid of this envelope, so we're going to hit Control-Alt-P again.
Hit trackpad envelope. Play.
And now it's hidden. Now, we could theoretically remove the points if we really wanted to. Let's show it again and actually go and do that.
Show trackpad envelope.
Make sure it's focused.
Pan envelope armed.
And now let's go remove these points. So if I go to point 1,
Point 0 value, point 1 value, 100% L linear bar 5.
with Alt-J and Alt-K, once I focus on the point, I can just press the delete key.
1 point removed.
And that point will be removed. And I can also go with Alt-J.
Point 0 value, 80% R linear bar 1.
And set this point
Set envelope. Selection removed.
to 0.
Unsaved project. Reaper V7.11.
Now, we
Evaluation
will be
license.
centered.
Play. Stop.
With no points to worry about anymore. And we can now hit Alt-Control-P
Hit trackpad envelope.
to hide that envelope. Alright, next up is the volume envelope.
Show track volume envelope.
And to show that envelope, we use Control-Alt-V. Now, the volume envelope is exactly what you think it might do. It controls the overall volume of the track. For example, let's say we wanted to fade in the track. First, we're going to set this first point here
Volume envelope armed. Point 0 value, 0.00 dB linear.
to, let's set it to maybe minus 20.
Set envelope.
We're going to edit this with Control, or sorry, not
Value
Control,
set selected 0.0.
Alt-Shift-E. We're going to set this to minus 20.
Selection. Unsaved project.
And if we play it,
Play.
you will notice that the volume is really low.
Stop.
Now, let's go to bar 5, and let's add another point.
Bar 5.
And we're going to set this point
Set envelope point value dialog. Value edit selected minus 20.0. Selection removed.
0.
Unsaved project. Reaper V7.11.
Now,
Evaluation
same
license.
process. We're going to hit Control Home,
R1.
and we're going to listen to what happens.
Play.
Now, as you can see, it's back at max volume. Now,
Stop.
keep in mind that volume is usually at 0 decibels or 0 dB. Anything above starts to clip, and what Reaper will most of the time do is when it reaches a certain level, it will mute the track, which means you always want to make sure that if you're doing tracks like this, or especially points, that if you plan to go above 0 decibels, which is the normal volume, just be careful, because Reaper will sometimes like to mute the track if it gets too loud. And you can actually disable that in the preferences. I won't go into detail on that in this tutorial, but you can actually change that in the settings if if you don't like it or you want to adjust it. So now we have 2 points. However, let's say we want to get a bit creative and we're like, we have 2 points, but now we want to basically go from that point, so point 0, which is what we had set to minus 20, and then point 1, which is what we had set to 0. Let's say we want to make another point. Now what will happen here is once it reaches point 1, which is at bar 5, point 1 will transfer, or it will transition to what we will create in a second at bar 9, which is point 2. Nothing will actually carry over. When point 0 goes to point 1, it'll end at point 1. It doesn't bleed into the rest of the points. Point 1 will lead to point 2. That being said, if we go to bar 9 with the page down key,
bar 2, bar 6, bar 7, bar 8, bar 9.
and we add another point here,
Set envelope point value dialog. Value edit selected 0.00 dB.
let's set this point to -10. So just between -20 and 0.
Selection removed.
And now you will notice if I press Alt-J and Alt-K, I will have a few of these points now.
Point 1 value, point 0 value, -20.0 dB linear bar 1.
I have a point at bar 1.
Point 1 value, 0.00 dB linear bar 5.
A point at bar 5.
Point 2 value, -10.0 dB linear bar 9.
And a point at bar 9. Now, you will notice that at bar 1, it transitions from -20 to 0. Then point 1 takes the lead and transitions from 0 to -10. If I play this back, you will notice what it does.
Bar 1.
So I'm going to hit Control Home and then play.
Play.
Now you will tell that it is now at -10. And again, if we want to delete these points, we are able to do exactly that by highlighting the point.
Point 0 value, point 1 value, 0.00 dB
Let's say I
linear bar
want to
5.
delete this one, and we will delete point 1, just, to demonstrate.
1 point removed.
Now what happens is when we delete a point, if we still have a point ahead, for instance,
Point 1 value, -10.0 dB linear bar 9.
this one at bar 9, point 0 is now going to go all the way to this point because we removed the one in between that one and the one at bar 9. The one at bar 5 is gone now. So that means if we go to bar 1 and we play, now it's going to take a while because now point 0 is trying to go all the way to point 1, which is at bar 9. Now you can see that it decided to use the next point, which is at bar 9, as a transition. So, that is the volume envelope, and we also did the pan envelope. Now, what if we have a situation where we want to pan and volume at the same time? Well, that's possible. So the thing about envelopes is you can show multiple. You don't have to show just one. For instance, if I rearmed the pan envelope with Control Alt P,
show track pan envelope,
and then I used Control. I keep saying Control. Then I used Alt L.
Volume envelope armed. Pan envelope armed. Volume envelope armed.
I am now switching between the volume envelope and the pan envelope.
Pan envelope armed.
And when I'm on a specific envelope, I will not see the points from the other envelope.
Point 0 value.
For example,
point 0 value center linear.
I'm only seeing the center point unless I were to go to the volume envelope and see the rest of the points that were for the volume envelope. The points don't leak into the other envelopes.
Volume envelope armed.
I have to go to the volume envelope in order to see what's going on.
Point 0 value -20.0. Point 1 value -10.0 dB linear.
However, when I'm in the pan envelope,
pan envelope armed. Point 0 value center.
I can't see it because it's for the volume. So let's add some points here just to demonstrate that we can have multiple envelopes do things at the same time. For this, we're going to set the pan value for the first point to -50.
Unsaved project.
And then we're going to go to bar 9.
Bar 10. Bar 9.
And we're going to set this point to positive 50. So it's going from half left to half right.
Project.
And you will notice that now when I play it,
Bar 1.
It's not only panning, but it's also increasing the volume at the same time.
Play.
So now, not only is it at 50, but the volume is also at -10, so you can have multiple envelopes armed. You just need to make sure that you're keeping track of your envelopes.
Stop.
Alright, so now let's remove these points.
Point 1 value 50% R linear.
Let's start with the pan envelope.
1 point removed.
And we're going to set this point 0 here
Point 0 value 50% L linear.
to
Set
0
selection.
to make it centered.
Unsaved project.
Now we're going to unarm it.
Hit track pan envelope.
Now we're going to go to this volume envelope with Alt-L.
Volume envelope armed. Point 0 point 1 value minus 10 point. Point 1
Use Alt-K to find the other point. We're going to delete it.
1 point removed.
And then go back to
Point 0
this
value.
first point here. Hit Alt-Shift-E
Set envelope blank.
and set it to 0.
Unsaved project.
To now have our regular track back. And now we're going to hit Control-Alt-V
Hit track volume.
to hide that envelope. And now we have our track.
Play.
Our normal track.
Stop.
Alright, so that is a basic demonstration of envelopes in Reaper. However, let's say we want to do some other things. There are sometimes VSTs or, plugins. Sorry, I have a bunch of bells and whistles on right now. I probably should have taken care of those before I started. Let's say we want to get envelopes from other VSTs, plugins, that sort. There are sometimes some plugins where, we want certain things to happen, but, we can't do that unless we automate. For example, let us use, let's see, what plugin could I demonstrate this with? Let's use a plugin called, and this is built in,
Add effect.
RBJ high pass / low pass filter. So just to find it, I'm going to type RBJ.
Clear for add button. Preview level 0. List 1 list. JS RBJ4 band notch filter 1 of 8. JS RBJ4 bands. JS RBJ4 band. JS RBJ12 band XW/HPF 5 of 8.
Just use the down arrow.
JS RBJ107. JS RBJ stereo image filter 8 of. JS RBJ high pass / low pass filter 7 of 8.
There it is. So
FX track.
now usually what you would do is you would tab to the right.
Edit mode. Edit HPF. Edit selected. HPF slider 0.0.
And you would start screwing around with these values. But this won't automate anything. It'll just set it to a natural value and it'll just stay there. For example, if I crank this up
240.0
to 240,
play.
now it's just high pass, but it's not going to move anywhere because, it's not being told via automation. So in this case, let's set it back to 0.
Edit select. Edit selected 204 blank selection. HPF edit selected 0. HPF play.
There we go. Now, in this case where we can't, just set it to a natural setting, we will automate this. And the way we do this is we go to this parameters button over here.
Edit FX, edit mode, list 1, remove, add button minus triggers, edit, FX active, 2 and 2 out, param button.
And we select it.
Context menu.
And now we arrow up.
Default control alias parameter parameter mod show track envelope submenu S.
To this submenu here. Now be careful because there are actually 2 buttons, identical buttons in this menu.
Show and track control sub FX for alias for L. Mini link parameter show track envelope S.
You want it to be a submenu. So what we do here is we click on it.
Bypass D.
And essentially what this menu is going to show is every single parameter that is manipulatable. And it will turn it into an envelope that we can screw around with. So let's find the HPF parameter that we were messing with.
Red W, delta D, HPFH.
And we're going to arm this
FX.
by pressing enter on it. And now if we go back to the track
Unsaved project 3. 1 of
and we press Alt-L,
HPF / RBJ high pass / low pass filters envelope armed.
you will see that now we have the HPF parameter, or also serving as an envelope, armed. Now, if we manipulate the high pass, or we add, points and stuff, it'll happen via automation, and it's not going to, just have a natural setting if we were, just to go and press F and set it there. We can actually make things happen using these points here. So, for example, this first point here,
Point 0 value 0.0 linear.
is set to 0.0. That's because there's no high pass being applied. Just to demonstrate that we can actually do this, though, we're going to head to bar 9.
Bar 6, bar 8, bar 9.
And we're going to set this point right here, Alt-Shift-E,
Set envelope.
to 500.
Selection.
And you will notice that the base of the track,
Unsaved project.
if we go to bar 1,
Bar 1.
with Control Home, will start to diminish.
Play.
So now it's high passed. Now,
Stop.
obviously, we can also arm multiple envelopes too, like I said. So let's go back to that param option.
FX, drag, edit, mode, edit, HP, edit, select, LP, edit, H, edit, mode, list 1, remove, add button, trigger, edit, FX, 2 and 2, param, but reset and param button, context menu.
We're going to show more envelopes.
Default controller, alien learn sub parameter, show track envelope menu, bypass red W, delta D, HPF checked H.
So you can see HPF is checked, and if you don't want to show that anymore, you can uncheck it, just like as if, you wanted to hide or show, the other envelopes. And let's show
LPFL,
LPF, which is a low pass filter.
FX, drag 1,
And what we're going to do here
unsaved project,
is now that we have both envelopes showing,
HPF slash RBJ high pass slash low pass filters envelope armed, LPF slash RBJ high pass slash low pass filters
we're
envelope
going to
armed.
cycle to the low pass filter envelope, and let's go to bar 9,
Bar 10, bar 10, bar 9.
and we're going to set this
Set
point
envelope point
here.
value dialog, value, edit selected 22,000.000.
By default is 22,000, which means the lower the value, the more low pass it's going to be. Let's set it to 11,000.
2.2000 dot 00022. 11,000 point.
And what is going to happen here is not only is there going to be high pass applied as it goes to bar 9, but there's also going to be low pass applied. So there are two envelopes at work here. And if I go to bar 1 with control home, you will notice this.
Bar 1, play.
Now, the track is actually slightly low passed, but in order to really demonstrate that it's happening, I think I'm going to set the value just a bit lower.
Point 1 value 11,000.0.
So we're going to set this point right here from 11,000. Let's go like 2,000, just to make it really more defined.
Unsaved. Bar 1.
We're going to go to bar 1 and listen. Oh yeah, now you can really tell. See how you can, it's sort of muffled now, right?
Stop.
And that's because not only is the low pass applied now, but also the high pass. Now, we're going to delete these points.
Point 0 value 20. Point 1 value 2001 point removed.
And we're going to
HPF slash. Point 1 value 5. Point 1 value 5.
delete the points on the HPF one as well.
Removed. Point 0 value 0.0 linear bar 1.
You don't need to worry about these points at bar 1 because we never screwed around with them.
LPF slash. Point 0 value 22,000.0 linear. Armed. Unarmed.
Oops, wrong thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to this
FX.
parameters menu. There's probably an easier way to do this, maybe like a keyboard shortcut or something. What we're going to do
Remove add button. Triggers in. Add button. Remove add button. Trigger edit. FX2 and 2 param. Preset param.
is go back to this parent button,
Contact default. Alien learns parameter. Show track envelope. Bypass.
show track envelopes, and we're going to hide these.
Red delta HPF checked H. FX track. Contact default. Alien learns parameter. Map. Show track envelope. Bypass. Red delta HPF LPF checked L. FX.
Alright, so now they are
Unsaved.
hidden, and if we play the track, it'll be normal.
Play. Stop.
Now let's say we have several tracks. Now, just out of boredom, I'm going to create a drum cover. So I'll be back when I complete that. Alright, so now I have two tracks in the project. I have the original track,
One a message under the C1 item.
and then I have my own drum cover track.
2 drums 1 item.
And it's quantized and everything, so, it sounds perfect and whatever. So, let's play it, just to demonstrate.
Play. Stop.
So, with this track, we can actually make both tracks have effects on them. With this new track, we can actually create what is called a folder. Now, people have always asked me, how do you make footsteps and everything that a character does or whatever in your GTS skits? How do you make everything move in sync? And it's quite simple. It's by using what Reaper calls folders. Now, to make a folder, what you need to do is you highlight your first track,
One a message under the C, one item.
and you press Shift Enter,
Folder.
and this will make it a folder. This will be the start of the folder. Now, on our ending track, which is the drums,
2 drums, one item.
we want to make this the end of the folder. So we hold down Shift and we press Enter
Nested folder.
until we hear end of folder.
End of folder, one a message under the C.
Now we have a folder called a message under the C.
One open folder, a message under the C, one item.
And I can close this folder just to demonstrate
Small.
by pressing Enter.
Closed.
And now the folder is closed.
One closed folder, a message under the C, one
And
item.
you'll see that the track now says one closed folder. Now, if I press Enter and open it up,
Open.
you will now see that the drums track is displaying, which is inside the folder,
2 drums, end of folder, one a message under the C, one item.
and it is also in the folder. Now, just to demonstrate, I'm going to close this folder,
One open folder, small. Closed.
and now, just to keep it simple, I'm going to use the panning envelope.
Show track pan
So we're going to
envelope.
hit Control-Alt-P, and now we can actually manipulate this folder. And what this is going to do is any tracks that are within this folder will get manipulated. In our case, the drums are in this folder. Now, if I set this first point here
One close. Pan envelope arms. 0.0 value center linear.
to minus
Set
50,
envelope point val selection. Unsave.
you will notice that both tracks, since they are in that folder, are affected.
Play. Stop.
Now, let's say at bar 5, I want to set another point.
Bar 4. Bar
And
5.
we're going to hit Alt-Shift-E. Let's
Set
set
envelope.
this point to, let's say, 50.
Unsave.
You will now hear that not only are the drums moving, but also a message under the C is moving. And that's because, again, they're under the same folder, and we are manipulating an envelope that is on the folder.
Bar 1. Play. Stop.
Now, which means whatever we do on this folder, by the way, we can actually add effects which will affect the entire folder. That is in addition to envelopes. So let's say I wanted to high pass this folder. We're going to delete that point here
Pan envelope arms. 0.1 value 50%.
at bar 5.
1 point room.
We're going to set the original point
0.0 value 50%.
to
Set
0, so it's in the
selection
center.
back. Unsave.
And let's say we want to high pass the folder. So we're going to add that RBJ
FX track 1.
folder, or RBJ
FX
plugin.
list 1 list. JS RPJ.
And it's already on the track, so we don't need to worry about, re-adding it or anything. And we're going to add its envelopes once again.
Remove but add button in. Traders in edit. FX add 2 and 2 arrow button.
So we're going to go with the high pass envelope.
Context menu.
So we're going to go into the context menu,
Default alias learn subparameter. Show track envelope sub bypass.
and we're going to show the high pass, so HPF.
Red up delta D HPFH. FX track 1 of unsaved project. Pan envelope arms.
And I actually forgot to hide this pan envelope, so we're going to hide it with Control-Alt-P.
Hit track pan envelope. HPF.
So now we only have this envelope to worry about.
HPF slash RBJ high pass slash low pass filters envelope arms.
And what we're going to do with this envelope is we're actually going to do this in reverse. So what I mean is we're going to set the high pass
0.0 value 0.0
on
linear.
this point here, rather than making a new point, and we're going to set it to 1000.
Set envelope selection room. Unsaved project.
And if I play it, you will notice that, again, it's affecting both tracks.
Stop.
Now I'm going to set a point at bar 9,
Bar 2, bar 6, bar 8, bar 9.
and I'm going to set it to 0.
Set
And what's going to happen
selection room.
is, since 0 is no high pass at all, it's slowly going to come in from no bass to full bass.
Unsaved project.
Now we have 2 points. If I use Alt-J and Alt-K,
0.0 value 1000.0 linear.
you see this first point, which is at 1000,
0.1 value 0.0 linear bar 9.
and you see this other point, which is at bar 9, and it's set to 0. And if I hit Control Home and play, you will notice what happens.
Bar 1 play.
And there you have it.
Stop.
Alright, so there you have it. So now that we have these tracks under this folder, if we create any additional tracks inside the folder, they will also be affected. For example, let me go and add a synth. So I'll be back again. Alright, I actually added a pad instead of a synth, but hey, it works. So now you will notice a new track that I added in this folder, and it will also be affected because it's in this same folder.
2 pads, 1 item.
Now there is a pad track, or pads, and now
3 drums and a folder, 1 a message under the C1 item.
you will also see a third track, which is originally the drums. And if I collapse this folder, since pads is
2 pads, 1 item.
in that folder,
1 open folder, small, closed.
you will see pads is also affected because it's in the same folder.
Play. Stop.
So I didn't actually loop the pads because I figured it would be best to just demonstrate the first 8 bars, but now you have a basic understanding of how that works. Alright, so we covered quite a bit today in this little, well, not really a little tutorial, but we covered the pan envelope, which lets you pan things around. We covered points and how you can position them. We covered the volume envelope. We covered envelopes that you can activate on plugins. And we also discussed folders and how you can manipulate points or envelopes or plugins on a folder, which will move several tracks at once. I hope you found this guide resourceful, and I'll see you later. Peace.